When Grandma Margot finally kicked the bucket, the whole family pretended to be sad. I say pretended because not a single one of us shed a real tear. Oh sure, there were dabs of tissue to eyes, dramatic sniffles, even a cousin who muttered she was like a second mother to me, though everyone knew Grandma couldn't stand him. The truth was simple, Grandma was rich. Not just, has a paid-off house and a nice retirement fund, rich. No, she was seriously rich, the kind of rich that makes people suddenly very spiritual about family bonds and cherished memories. And since her husband had died years ago, all of that wealth was up for grabs. Naturally, every single one of us descended on her house like vultures circling a carcass. The first to arrive was Aunt Linda. She was the eldest sibling, and she marched through the front door in her designer black dress like a mafia widow. Linda was the type who made grief fashionable, complete with a pearl necklace and sunglasses that were entirely unnecessary indoors. Then came Uncle Rick, her younger brother, dragging behind him his new girlfriend, or life coach, as he introduced her. She was 25 years younger, wore enough gold jewelry to sink a canoe, and called him Ricky Boo loud enough for the whole street to hear. Next were my cousins, Ben, always scheming, always failing, Hannah, her only personality trait was yoga, and Mark, who believed his crypto investments made him a financial genius. And finally, there was me. Sam. The black sheep, or so they called me. Unlike the rest of them, I wasn't really banking on an inheritance. I had a job, a normal apartment, and only mild credit card debt. But still, who turns down a chance to inherit a fortune? The family gathered in Grandma's living room, which smelled faintly of mothballs and expensive perfume. The curtains were drawn, as if the house itself was in mourning. On the mantel above the fireplace sat Grandma's favorite porcelain cat, staring at us with those creepy glass eyes. I swear, even in death, she was judging us. At exactly noon, the front door creaked open again. In walked a tall man in a crisp gray suit, carrying a leather briefcase. He looked like the kind of guy who had spent half his life being yelled at by wealthy old women, which, in this case, was accurate. "Good afternoon," he said, his voice deep and professional. "I'm Mr. Hollis, your grandmother's attorney. Thank you all for being here for the reading of the will." The room shifted. Everyone straightened, adjusted clothing, or tried to look more sorrowful. It was like watching a pack of hyenas suddenly decide to act like house cats. Mr. Hollis opened his briefcase and pulled out a stack of papers. "Now, before we begin, I must remind you all, this will is legally binding. Whatever is written here must be carried out to the letter." Of course," Aunt Linda said, dramatically clutching her pearls. "We only wish to honor dear Margot's memory." Rick muttered under his breath, "And get what's ours." The attorney cleared his throat. "Margot Eleanor Whitaker, being of sound mind and body, has left behind very clear instructions for the distribution of her estate." Ben leaned forward in his chair, practically salivating. Hannah crossed her legs into some kind of yoga pose, as if to signal she was spiritually above greed, though she still had both eyes glued to the lawyer. Mr. Hollis adjusted his glasses and began to read. "To my beloved family, if you are hearing these words, it means I am dead. Unless, of course, one of you poison me, in which case, enjoy hell." The room went dead silent. I smirked. Classic Grandma. Linda forced a laugh. "Oh, Margot, always the joker." The lawyer continued. "I know what you all want. My money. My jewelry. My house. Well, tough luck. You don't get it. At least, not yet. You see, I have grown weary of your squabbling, your greed, and your utter lack of subtlety. So, if you want even a single penny of my fortune, you will have to earn it." Everyone froze. "What do you mean, earn it?" Rick demanded. The lawyer kept reading. "I have left behind a list of tasks. Challenges, if you will. Complete them all, and the inheritance is yours, to be shared equally among you. Fail, and every cent goes to the Cat Rescue Foundation." Every head in the room snapped toward the porcelain cat on the mantel. It was smiling. I swear to God, it was smiling. The family erupted at once. "This is ridiculous." Aunt Linda barked. "She can't do this," Mark muttered, already pulling out his phone to Google legal loopholes. Ben whispered, "How hard could it be? Maybe it's just like, clean the attic or something." Hannah, eyes closed, whispered, "This is a test of our souls. I accept the challenge." Rick's girlfriend piped up, "What's the Cat Rescue Foundation? Do they, like, save cats from trees?" The lawyer raised his voice over the chaos. "If I may continue." Everyone shut up instantly. "The first task is simple. You must all spend one night in this house together. No leaving, no excuses. If even one of you tries to sneak out before dawn, the inheritance is void." I blinked. "That's it? Just a sleepover?" Mr. Hollis shook his head. "That's just the first task. More instructions will follow if you succeed." Linda scoffed. "Please. This is child's play. We all stay here one night, and then we're rich. Easy. Ben grinned. Yeah, what's the worst that could happen? We should never have asked that question. Because the worst did happen. But at that moment, the family was buzzing with excitement. They started planning where everyone would sleep, what food to order, who got which bedroom. You'd think it was a family reunion, not a death watch. I lingered near the fireplace, staring at that porcelain cat. The thing gave me chills. And in that weird, heavy silence between conversations, I thought I heard something. A faint sound. Almost like purring. The sun dipped below the horizon as if on cue, draping Grandma's house in shadows. For the first time since her death, the old place looked alive. The shutters rattled with the wind, floorboards creaked under their own weight, and that porcelain cat's glossy eyes seemed to glisten like it was thrilled about the night ahead. All right, Aunt Linda announced as she marched through the living room, clipboard in hand. Yes, she had brought a clipboard, because grief, apparently, was something to organize. Sleeping arrangements, Rick and his friend can take the downstairs guest room. Life coach, corrected Rick's girlfriend, flashing a too bright smile. Whatever, Linda snapped. The cousins can pick from the upstairs bedrooms. I'll take the master, of course. Why do you get the master? Ben complained. Because I'm the eldest, Linda shot back. Pretty sure Grandma didn't say anything about seniority, Mark muttered without looking up from his phone. He'd been Googling, can inheritance be challenged due to unreasonable conditions since lunch? Fine, Linda said through gritted teeth. Let's vote. Raise your hand if you think I deserve the master bedroom. No one raised their hand. Linda glared at us like a queen betrayed. Unbelievable. The woman just died. Exactly, I said. So maybe honor her by not acting like she owes you the best mattress. Her glare shifted to me. I was used to it. Being the family's black sheep meant I'd built an immunity to Linda's death stares years ago. By 9 o'clock, we'd all found rooms and dragged our bags inside. Grandma's house was massive, high ceilings, hallways that seemed to go on forever, and furniture that looked like it belonged in a museum rather than a home. She'd always been eccentric, but in her absence, the house felt almost theatrical. Dinner was a disaster. Linda insisted we keep things dignified, with a candlelit meal in the dining room, as if we were all part of a Victorian seance. Rick ordered pizza anyway, and the delivery guy nearly tripped over the cat-shaped umbrella stand in the foyer. We ate in near silence, punctuated only by the occasional crunch of crust or Rick's girlfriend saying things like, "Wow, the energy in this house is so intense." When the grandfather clock in the hallway struck midnight, we were all still awake, thanks to too much pizza, too much tension, and maybe a little too much fear. That's when we heard it. A low, steady creaking. Coming from upstairs. Everyone froze. What was that? Hannah whispered, gripping her yoga mat like it could double as a weapon. Old houses make noises, Mark said, though his voice trembled. The sound came again. A long, drawn-out creak, followed by something else, a faint scratching noise, like claws against wood. Ben laughed nervously. Probably just the wind. Or, a raccoon. Do raccoons scratch like that? Raccoons don't live in attics, I muttered. Linda slammed her wine glass onto the table. This is ridiculous. It's a house. It creaks. Get over it. As if on cue, the chandelier above us swayed. Just slightly. But enough that all eyes darted up at once. Rick's girlfriend gasped. Spirits. I knew it. Your grandma is trying to communicate. No, Linda said firmly. Grandma is dead. And if she's not, then I'll kill her myself for pulling this nonsense. But her hands trembled as she grabbed her glass again. We eventually retreated to our rooms, though no one really slept. I lay on the stiff mattress in my chosen bedroom, staring at the ceiling. The porcelain cat from the living room haunted my thoughts. That's when I heard it, a soft, deliberate knock at my door. Sam, came a whisper. It was Ben. I opened the door to find him pale and wide-eyed. You gotta come see this. He led me down the hall, tiptoeing like we were kids sneaking cookies. We stopped outside Grandma's study, the one room she'd always kept locked. Except now, the door was ajar. Ben nudged it open, and the two of us peeked inside. The study was exactly as I remembered it, mahogany shelves stacked with dusty books, the massive oak desk covered in papers, and that strange oil painting of a stormy sea that Grandma swore was soothing. But the weird part? On the desk sat an envelope. Thick, yellowed paper with our family name scrawled across it in Grandma's unmistakable cursive. Ben's jaw dropped. No way. I stepped inside cautiously and picked it up. Written on the front in looping letters was, "For the survivors of Night 1." I swear the air in the room grew colder. I tore it open. Inside was a single sheet of paper, handwritten. Congratulations. You managed not to run screaming into the night. That's better than I expected. Your next task is as follows. Find the key I have hidden in this house. It opens the safe where I keep the first portion of your inheritance. But beware, I did not make it easy. Solve the riddles, follow the clues, and perhaps you'll earn it. Fail, and the cats win again. Sincerely, Margot, who is probably laughing in hell at this very moment. At the bottom of the page was a riddle. Asterisk, I am not alive, yet I can grow. I have no mouth, and yet I roar. Feed me and I live, give me water and I die. Where am I? Asterisk. Ben scratched his head. What the hell is this, Jeopardy? It's a riddle, I said. The answer is fire. Okay, smart guy, but what does that mean? I glanced around the room. My eyes landed on the fireplace across from the desk. We hurried over, and sure enough, tucked inside the grate was another envelope. Ben practically ripped it apart. Inside was a note, asterisk closer. But don't get burned. Look where the family never looks, but always should, asterisk. Family never looks, but always should? Ben repeated. Like, photo albums? Bank statements? Therapy bills? I scanned the shelves. Books, trinkets, photo frames. Then my gaze stopped on the painting of the stormy sea. I stepped closer and lifted it from the wall. Sure enough, behind it was a small brass key taped to the wall. Ben whooped. Yes. We're rich. But then the lights flickered. And we both froze. Did you see that? Ben whispered. Yeah. The light steadied. But the air was different now, heavier, charged, like static before a storm. I started, but then we heard it again. That same scratching sound from earlier. Only this time, it was coming from inside the study. We whipped around. The porcelain cat. It was sitting on the desk. We hadn't put it there. Ben yelped and bolted for the door, nearly knocking over a stack of books. I followed, the brass key clenched in my hand. We slammed the study door shut behind us. Both of us were panting. Okay, Ben said, hands on his knees. Tell me you saw that too. I saw it. Good. Because if I'm hallucinating cats, I'm not cut out for this inheritance thing. We crept back toward our rooms, trying to act normal. But the house had changed. Every shadow looked sharper, every creak louder. By the time we reached the staircase, the entire family was gathered there. What the hell is going on? Linda demanded. Why are you two sneaking around? Rick squinted at the key in my hand. What's that? Before I could answer, Ben blurted, we found Grandma's riddle clue. And the key? We're winning this thing. We found it, I corrected. But it was too late. Everyone swarmed around us, peppering us with questions. Linda snatched the key right out of my hand. Mine, she declared. Excuse me? I snapped. As eldest, I'll safeguard it. Lady, the last time you safeguarded something, you sold it on eBay, I shot back. The argument escalated fast, shouting, finger-pointing, Rick's girlfriend trying to smudge negative vibes with a stick of sage she had in her purse. And then, right in the middle of all the chaos, the grandfather clock struck 3. Bong. The sound echoed through the house, deep and ominous. Bong. Every fight, every word, every movement stopped. Bong. We turned toward the clock. Its hands had both moved to exactly 12. Even though it was 3 in the morning. The clock's booming chime vibrated through the house, rattling the picture frames on the walls and shaking our nerves. 3 o'clock doesn't sound like that, Hannah whispered, clutching her yoga mat like a holy relic. Linda clutched the brass key to her chest. Mechanical failure, she announced firmly, though her voice quavered. Nope, Ben muttered. That's not mechanical failure. That's demonic failure. The final bong died away, leaving the house swallowed in silence. For a moment, we just stood there, staring at the clock as if expecting it to sprout teeth and eat us alive. Then, with a soft tick, the clock's hands began to spin backward. Slowly at first, then faster, faster, until they blurred in a dizzy whirl. Rick backed away, hands raised. Okay, no. I did not sign up for a time machine inheritance. I'm out. But none of us moved. Because as the hands spun, something fell from the base of the clock with a sharp metallic clink. A second key. Ben dove for it like a baseball player sliding into home. He held it up triumphantly. Score. Linda instantly lunged at him, grabbing his wrist. Hand it over. Eldest rights. Oh my God, Linda, I groaned. This isn't medieval England. You don't get dibs on keys just because you're older than us. It's about responsibility, she snapped. No, it's about your shopping addiction, Mark said without looking up from his phone. You'd probably pawn the safe before opening it. Linda gasped like he'd slapped her. Excuse me? Excuse me, Rick cut in, but isn't anyone gonna talk about the possessed clock spitting out keys like some satanic Pez dispenser? We all went quiet again, our eyes drifting back to the clock. Its hands had stopped spinning and now rested squarely at midnight. That was when the whispering began. It was faint, almost like wind in the walls, but it was there, a chorus of whispers, overlapping, unintelligible, but undeniably voices. Hannah's face drained of color. I'm not crazy. You hear that too, right? We all nodded. Rick's girlfriend, the life coach/spiritual sage smuggler, held up her bundle of burning sage. Everyone, form a circle. Negative spirits feed on disunity. Instead, Linda stomped toward the study, dragging us behind her like kids on a field trip. Enough games. We open the safe now. Grandma's study was colder than before, the air sharp against our skin. The porcelain cat still sat on the desk, its glossy eyes fixed on us. Linda shoved both keys into the safe's lock, one after the other, until finally, with a rusty click, the door swung open. Inside was another envelope. Linda ripped it open. Her face twisted as she read aloud. Congratulations on surviving night 2. You are closer to your reward. But before you claim it, you must remember, the true test is not endurance, but honesty. Go to the attic. Bring nothing but yourselves. And beware the cat. We all turned, slowly, toward the porcelain cat. It was no longer on the desk. Ben screamed. Where did it go? Hannah shrieked. Not important, don't care, attic time. Rick said, bolting for the stairs. We followed, stumbling over one another, each of us desperate to get away from the study. The staircase groaned beneath our combined weight as we scrambled upward. At the top was a narrow door, the kind you'd expect to see in a horror movie right before someone makes a terrible decision. Mark, for once, looked up from his phone and muttered, "This is how I die." I pushed the door open. The attic was massive, a cavernous space filled with trunks, boxes, and dust-coated furniture. A single bare bulb swung from the ceiling, casting long, eerie shadows. And right in the middle of the floor was a circle of chairs. 7 chairs. One for each of us. On the far wall hung a massive portrait of Grandma Margot. But unlike her usual prim and proper photographs, this one showed her smirking, almost smug, as if she knew exactly how ridiculous this was. Is this a joke? Rick muttered. Sit, Linda commanded, dropping into the nearest chair. Clearly this is part of the test. We all exchanged nervous looks, then sat. The moment the last chair scraped against the floor, the attic door slammed shut behind us. The whispers returned. Louder this time. Almost words. From the shadows, the porcelain cat appeared. It walked across the floor with slow, deliberate steps, tail swishing. Except it didn't walk so much as glide, its paws never quite touching the ground. It hopped onto the trunk in front of Grandma's portrait and stared at us. Its glassy eyes glowed faintly in the dim light. Then a voice filled the attic. Grandma's voice. Well, you actually made it. Hannah clapped a hand over her mouth. Linda dropped her clipboard. Ben whispered, I knew she was a witch. Don't be dramatic, Grandma's voice continued. I'm dead. But that doesn't mean I can't have fun. I knew you vultures would fight over my estate, so I designed this little game. You want your inheritance? Prove you deserve it. The cat's mouth didn't move, but the voice echoed from its direction. You each have secrets, Grandma went on. Lies. Things you've hidden from each other. Tonight, you tell the truth. Or you get nothing. Rick barked a laugh. What is this, family therapy from beyond the grave? Yes, Grandma's voice said bluntly. Now speak. We sat in silence, avoiding one another's eyes. Finally, Ben blurted out, fine. Ishi atidon musats. Twice. The bulb flickered. The whispers softened. Linda rolled her eyes. That's your big secret? I once bailed on Mom's surgery to go to a spa in Miami. Everyone gasped. The whispers grew louder again, like a crowd reacting to scandal. Linda waved a hand. Oh, relax. She lived. One by one, the confessions came. Rick admitted he'd been embezzling from his company. Mark revealed he wasn't studying abroad last year but actually dropped out of college and spent 6 months in his friend's basement. Hannah sheepishly confessed she'd stolen half of Grandma's antique jewelry for meditation energy years ago. The bulb above us buzzed, glowing brighter with each revelation. Finally, all eyes turned to me. My throat went dry. I'd been quiet all night, hoping to slip through unnoticed. But Grandma's voice cut in. Well, Sam? Tell them. Or the cat decides. The porcelain cat's eyes gleamed. I swallowed hard. Okay. My secret is that I'm the reason Grandma wrote this will the way she did. Gasps erupted. What do you mean? Ben asked. I glanced at the portrait, at her smug smile. A few months ago, she called me. She said she didn't trust any of you not to turn her death into a money grab. She asked me what I thought. And I told her, if you want the truth, make them earn it. Make them face themselves. Linda shot to her feet. You helped her design this circus? I nodded. Every riddle, every test, it was her idea. I just encouraged it. The whispers roared, almost deafening. The cat's eyes blazed. Then, silence. The attic bulb went dark. When it flickered back on, the cat was gone. So was the portrait. In its place was a massive chest, gleaming with polished brass. Grandma's voice echoed one last time, "Congratulations. You've told the truth. Which means, you're ready." The chest creaked open on its own. Inside was, not piles of money, not gold bars, not even jewelry. It was paperwork. Stacks and stacks of it. Mark leaned over. "Is that?" I picked up the top page. Deeds. Bank accounts. Investments. The entire estate. We all stared, stunned. Grandma's voice chuckled. "The money was never the point. The point was whether you could sit in a room together without killing each other. Turns out, you barely managed. I'm proud. Sort of." The voice faded. The bulb steadied. The attic was silent again. We lugged the chest downstairs, still half in shock. The house felt lighter now, the air less oppressive. Even the shadows seemed softer. Linda clutched the paperwork like it was the Holy Grail. "Well, I suppose we split it." "For once," Rick said, "I agree." No one argued. As dawn broke through the windows, we gathered in the kitchen, exhausted, wary, but strangely, calmer. The porcelain cat sat on the windowsill, perfectly still. We all eyed it warily. "Do you think it's over?" Ben asked. I shrugged. "With Grandma? It's never over." The cat's glassy eyes seemed to glint in the morning sun. And for just a second, I swear it winked.